Welcome back, enlightened individuals, to Dire Wolf. Today we'll be covering Buzzfeed again, and this time with Franchesa Ramsey, their favorite resident racist. Today we'll be covering her opinions on privilege. You all know privilege, that phrase that SJWs throw around to try to say that anyone who's white's opinion has no value. So strap yourselves in, this one's gonna be a doozy.
When it comes to social justice, there's one word that can stop almost any conversation dead in its tracks.
Maybe it stops conversations in their tracks, and maybe it makes people angry because it's used to shoot down people who are white from having an opinion about race relations, education, criminal justice, or governance. You know, basically a bunch of topics that also affect white people.
If you've ever stumbled into a conversation about racism,
is that kind of like tripping on your straw man and falling onto your slippery slope?
You've probably heard the phrase white privilege, which has been ruffling feathers since the phrase became commonplace in the 1960s.
Perhaps it's commonplace in the circles you run in, but for most people, it is a bigoted and unintelligent phrase. But please go on.
The concept of privilege isn't limited to race, but when it's brought up, no matter who you're talking to, too often the response isn't very friendly.
What you don't seem to understand is, it's not the idea that people from an industrialized nation or people from America are privileged that is causing people to become angry. It's the fact that people use perceived privilege as a reason to silence or to take rights from other people. Regularly, the phrase white privilege is used to disqualify or disenfranchise white voices. That is a racist tactic that you, Franchesa, have also engaged in.
Racism is bad.
Thanks for backing me up, Lacey. Haven't seen you in a while. You weren't in my last video. How's that chlamydia coming?
Doesn't just disappear overnight.
I'm sorry to hear that, and I'm sorry I asked. Back to the video.
Privilege? How dare you! So what exactly is privilege, and why does talking about it make so many people so angry?
In reality, privilege varies widely between all different demographics, but you're going to try to tell us that individual demographic groups are privy to certain unique and private privileges that no one else has access to, which is categorically false. You may, as a part of a demographic group, not have all the advantages of someone in another demographic group, but it doesn't mean that someone else in your demographic group doesn't have those same advantages. For instance, there's a black man out there who lives in a family that is stuck in a cycle of poverty that produces less advantages to, say, someone like Obama, who was a black man whose family produced lots of advantages and led to him having the opportunity and the drive to be president. In America, Asian people are often thought to be a more privileged demographic than black people, but there are far more black people in American politics with more power than Asian people. There's never been an Asian president. There's far fewer Asian members of Congress and the Senate and other positions of power. Is it impossible to generalize an entire demographic as having the same privilege? That is the fallacy of composition, saying that if it's true of one member of a group, then it's true of all members of the group. But by all means, Miss Ramsey, go on.
Privilege is defined as a special right or advantage available only to a particular person or group of people.
So it's not real.
In the context of social inequality, it means that some groups of people are treated better than others based on their race, gender, class, sexuality, or physical ability.
Two problems here. For clarification, when she says equality, she means equality of results, not equality of opportunity. It is the government's job to provide the same opportunity under the law and same protections under the law. However, it is not the government's responsibility to ensure equality of results. They cannot ensure everyone who goes to school is going to get the same grades and will get the same jobs and they reach the same level of success. That is impossible. Attempts to legislate this goal would take from those who are successful to give to those who are not. Second, she's making a false moral equivalency between someone not having an opportunity and someone being mistreated. If I don't hire someone with a disability, not because of bigotry, but because their disability would make them physically unable to do the job at the same quality as someone who is not disabled, then it is not me harming that person. It means that that person does not have that opportunity because of a logical and tangible reason. But please, go on, Franchesa, please.
Now here's the thing about privilege. Everyone has it. You've got privilege! You've got privilege! We've all got privilege! So for example, as an able-bodied person, I've never struggled to find a bathroom that I can comfortably access, or gone out to lunch with friends to only realize that I can't find a parking spot to get into the restaurant, or even fit through the door. When I turn on my favorite show, I can watch and enjoy with ease because I don't require captions or descriptive narration, which too many shows don't have. So why does talking about privilege make some people angry? I think there are a number of reasons why privilege can be difficult to talk about. Number one, when people hear the word privilege, it feels like they're being blamed. When we use privilege in everyday conversations, we hear phrases like, X is a privilege, not a right. So the vocabulary makes it seem like it's something that you don't deserve.
I hate to break it to you, but it's not the vocabulary that makes it seem like it's something we don't deserve. It's the actual people saying we don't deserve privileges. It's the people saying you need to pay us reparations because of your privileges, or you need to be punished, you need to be killed, or you need to be subjugated, you need to be enslaved because of your privilege. And furthermore, it's always white privilege. You never see people attacking someone over their Hispanic or Asian privilege. Don't play coy with me. You know exactly why people get angry when you talk about white privilege.
Combine that with the fact that conversations about social inequality tend to be very passionate.
You mean because people like you breed division and hatred?
It's easy to understand why someone might be upset when check your privilege comes up. No one wants to be the bad guy, and for some people, the concept of privilege feels like they're being blamed for something that's out of their control. And when you think about it that way, sure, that's bound to make someone angry.
I do not feel guilty, and no one should feel guilty for any opportunity they are blessed with. Just because you were given an advantage doesn't mean you took that advantage from somebody. Franchesa may say she doesn't want you to feel guilty, but the overarching strategy of the regressive left is to feed off of white guilt, to redistribute institutional power based on victim status and not merit.
Number two, privilege makes people feel guilty. Talking about privilege is not meant to make you feel guilty. Guilt isn't productive. Acknowledging it isn't about shame, it's about challenging the system that perpetuates inequality.
A system that perpetuates inequality. Like a system that provides college grants or jobs or training to people based on their race, not on their merits. Maybe something like affirmative action.
The existence of privilege isn't my fault or your fault, but understanding and acknowledging it is an important first step in working to make a world where these obstacles don't exist.
Your privilege is not my obstacle, and vice versa.
However, ignoring the problem or refusing to acknowledge the problem exists just allows it to continue and thrive.
As I previously said, we are all equal under the law. No one has more or less privilege under the law. What remains is individual ability, talent, and circumstance, which you cannot control, and is not a problem.
Number three, anger is a defense mechanism. For some people, talking about privilege feels like they're being attacked, or worse yet, that their privilege is going to be taken away.
Maybe because this argument has been used to attack people and has been used to disenfranchise people.
In reality, privilege describes things that everyone should experience. For example, as a straight person, I don't encounter people passing judgment when I'm affectionate with my husband in public. That's not a bad thing. It should be that way for everyone, no matter their sexual orientation.
You did not just describe an institutional bias, you described someone's personal thoughts that you cannot control. Nor is it a privilege that someone who judges you is not judging me. Their bigotry has nothing to do with me.
Number four, they just don't understand privilege. The thing about privilege is it's kind of hard to see. It's like when a horse has those blinders on. They can see what's in front of them, but there's a whole bunch of stuff in the peripheral that they can't see.
I'm pretty sure Seabiscuit here just told us we're dumb as horses.
As wonderful as it would be for everyone to be treated fairly and equal no matter who they are, that's just not the world we live in.
Plus, you would want that because it would be really hard for you to race bait if everyone was equal, huh? Instead, you're going to spend your time spreading division and disunity under the guise of moral superiority.
Privilege doesn't mean you're rich, a bad person, have had everything handed to you, or have never had challenges or struggles. It just means that there are some challenges and struggles that you won't experience because of who you are. So when you've lived your whole life with something, it's hard to understand what it's like for those without. Now, it's impossible for me to guarantee that every time privilege is brought up, it's justified, or that everyone talks about these issues in a responsible way that's free of name-calling or personal attacks.
Because they never do. and even you aren't that disingenuous.
And unfortunately, if you've ever had a particularly nasty encounter that included the word privilege, then you might be turned off forever.
Speaking of turned off forever, this video. That's 10 minutes with Franchesa Ramsey. I cannot in good conscience subject you to any more. I commend every last one of you that stayed through this entire video and all of its stupidity. I hope it did not too badly harm your faith in humanity. I again want to thank Lacey Green, whose videos are so easy to edit to make it sound like she agrees with me. And lastly, please remember, Buzzfeed is cancer. Direwolf out.